If you played video games on an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3 in the fall of 2008, you played a Star Wars story. You played a man named Galen Marek, codename Starkiller. Trained in secret by Darth Vader from the age of 6. Force strong enough to pull a Star Destroyer out of orbit with his bare hands. You found out, about 3/4 of the way through the game, that you had been raised as a tool to kill Jedi survivors of Order 66. You found out, in the final mission, that Vader had set you up to die. You found out, on Senator Organa's living room sofa, that you were going to be the man who founded the Rebel Alliance with your last breath. It was episode 3.5. It was officially canon. George Lucas personally gave it his blessing. Nearly 3 million copies sold in its first month. Disney bought Lucasfilm in October 2012. A year and a half later, they declared every story in the expanded universe, including the Galen Marek trilogy, including The Force Unleashed 2, including the planned Force Unleashed 3, officially non-canonical. There is a man frozen in a holding tank somewhere in the discarded canon, hands restrained, suspended in carbon amber. He has been there for 14 years. They aren't coming back for him. Tonight I want to tell you the story Disney threw away. The story they won't finish. The story that already had more emotional payoff in its first 3 hours than the entire sequel trilogy delivered in 8. The game released September 16, 2008, simultaneously across Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Wii, PS2, PSP, DS, and mobile. Within 5 days, LucasArts announced 1.5 million customers worldwide had already purchased it, the fastest-selling Star Wars game and LucasArts title ever made. The Xbox 360 version topped the NPD charts in September 2008. By the end of its opening month, nearly 3 million copies had sold across all platforms. By February 2010, 7 million. LucasArts called it the fastest-selling Star Wars game ever. That was accurate. The man who built it was Hayden Blackman, director of the first game, executive producer on the second, winner of the 2009 Writers Guild of America Award for video game writing. He'd spent 4 years on this project after LucasArts relaunched in 2004. Multiple concepts went in front of George Lucas during development. A Darth Maul game, a Wookiee warrior game, a smuggler story. Lucas pushed toward drama. He told the team Vader had his own plots during the years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. He appeared personally at the San Francisco launch party. He contributed thematic ideas about the Force's connection to its user, ideas that made it into the finished game. The project carried his blessing and involvement, classified as C-canon under the pre-Disney holocron continuity system, part of official Star Wars history, binding unless a film contradicted it. Sam Witwer played Starkiller, voice and motion capture both, securing the role by demonstrating to Blackman's team that he understood the character better than any other candidate. He later voiced Darth Maul across the Clone Wars, Rebels, and Solo, and Emperor Palpatine across multiple Star Wars productions. He has said publicly he would reprise the role immediately if asked. He is still ready. Kashyyyk, early Imperial era. Darth Vader arrives hunting a fugitive Jedi named Kento Marek. He finds him. He kills him. Then Kento's son, Galen, maybe 6 years old, pulls Vader's lightsaber from his hand using the Force. Vader executes the Imperial soldiers who witnessed it, rather than let them report what they saw. He takes the boy. What follows is roughly 15 years of training aboard Vader's flagship, the Executor. Galen grows up under the codename Starkiller, with a holodroid named Proxy programmed to attack him regularly with lethal intent, because Vader believed pain was useful. In 3BBY, Vader formally acknowledges him as his apprentice and dispatches him on his first real test, kill Rom Koda, a Clone Wars Jedi general who survived Order 66 because he never trusted clones. No clones in his unit, no one to obey the order. Starkiller tracks Coda to a TIE fighter construction facility above Nar Shaddaa. They duel. Coda is blinded, cast into the planet's atmosphere. A new pilot, Juno Eclipse, an Imperial officer assigned to fly the rogue Shadow, doesn't know what she's signed up for. The hunt continues. On Raxus Prime, the insane Jedi Master Kazdan Paratus, who has built a junk replica of the Jedi Temple filled with mannequins he's convinced himself are the dead Jedi Council. On Felucia, Shaak Ti, last of the old Council, training Force-sensitive natives around the maw of a Sarlacc. She dies with a warning: the Sith always betray one another. Galen dismisses it. He shouldn't have. Vader's plan collapses almost immediately. The Emperor's spies follow Starkiller back to the fleet. Caught, Vader does what Sith do: stabs his apprentice in the chest, throws him through a viewport into space, tells Palpatine his secret is dead, then sends a medical droid to recover the body. Galen wakes up rebuilt. Vader gives him a new assignment: gather the Empire's enemies, build a rebellion, distract Palpatine. Galen agrees. He frees Juno from an Imperial prison, tracks down a blind Coda drinking himself to death above Cloud City, and begins assembling something real. On Corellia, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Garm Bel Iblis gather to sign the Corellian Treaty, the founding document of the Rebel Alliance. Vader arrives with stormtroopers before the ink dries. He tells Galen directly, "This was always the plan. You were bait. Every person you recruited is now in Imperial custody. You were never going to help overthrow the Emperor." Galen escapes. The rebels are taken to the Death Star. He boards it alone. He fights through it. He reaches the Emperor's throne room and defeats Vader in single combat. Armor cracked, respirator damaged, Vader on his knees in the wreckage of the observation dome. Palpatine tries to turn Starkiller, urging him to finish his helpless master and take his place. Coda, one of the rebel prisoners, attacks the Emperor with a stolen lightsaber. Palpatine blasts him with Force lightning. Galen absorbs it, puts himself between Coda and the killing energy. He turns to the senators. "Go. Hurry." He advances on the Emperor. He releases everything: a detonation of Force energy from within his own body, buying the senators time to reach the rogue Shadow. Juno pilots them out. Galen Marek dies in the explosion. The survivors formally declare the Rebel Alliance. Leia picks the symbol, the Marek family crest, a starbird. It flies over every X-Wing for the next 40 years. Force Unleashed 2 arrived in October 2010. Vader has been cloning Starkiller since the Death Star. The player controls one of the clones, Subject 1138, who has developed feelings for Juno through memory flashes of the original's life, making him, by Vader standards, a failure. The game is shorter and more linear than the first, and the clone identity question never resolves. That's not a flaw, it's a setup. The sequel ends with the Marek clone defeating Vader on Kamino, rescuing Juno, and taking Vader prisoner. The final shot: Vader restrained in some kind of carbon apparatus, in rebel custody. Coda wants him alive for interrogation, for trial, to show the galaxy they don't need to fear him any longer. Vader, even restrained, gets the last word. "As long as she lives, I will always control you." The screen cuts to black. No Force Unleashed 3. The first killing came before Disney even entered the picture. In August 2010, barely 2 months into his tenure as LucasArts president, Paul Meegan canceled Force Unleashed 3, reportedly already in early development. Blackman had resigned that July. He left to found the studio Hangar 13. In November 2015, timed to the release of The Force Awakens, Blackman gave a detailed interview to Cinelinx. He said, "My hope was that we'd have Vader and Starkiller reluctantly working together to stop one of the Emperor's plots that threatens to replace Vader. Boba Fett, sent by Palpatine, would have been dispatched to make sure neither of them escaped. Players would never have known whether Vader could be trusted." Blackman also confirmed the game never got past the notes stage. No concept art, no script, no prototype. The idea existed, and then 2 separate corporate decisions made sure it never became anything more. On April 3, 2013, 154 days after acquiring Lucasfilm for $4.05 billion, Disney dissolved LucasArts as an internal studio. The official statement: after evaluating our position in the games market, we've decided to shift LucasArts from an internal development to a licensing model. Around 150 employees were let go. Star Wars 1313 and Star Wars First Assault, both in active development, were canceled. A year later, April 25, 2014, Lucasfilm published a post on StarWars.com titled, "The Legendary Star Wars Expanded Universe Turns a New Page." Every novel, comic, and video game was reclassified as Legends, non-canonical. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy framed the decision in the same announcement. The new film content would give incoming directors maximum creative freedom and preserve an element of surprise and discovery for the audience. New canon consisted of the original 6 films, The Clone Wars, and Rebels. Everything else moved to a separate shelf. Engadget's headline that day: Star Wars Expanded Universe, including games, no longer canon. The Corellian Treaty never happened. The Starbird crest was assigned a different origin by Rebels. The man who absorbed Palpatine's lightning so that senators could reach the exit, legally and narratively deleted at the direction of a company that had owned the franchise for less than 2 years. Not for creative reasons, for IP control convenience, dressed up in the language of filmmaker freedom. The structural case is this. Galen Marek's arc has 4 beats. Vader trains a child in secret. Vader uses him as bait twice. Marek chooses voluntarily to die for people he barely knows. He dies. 1 game, roughly 8 hours, complete. Rey's arc across 3 films has a setup on Jakku, a parentage mystery that The Last Jedi dismantles and The Rise of Skywalker reinstates, a Palpatine connection introduced in the 3rd film, and a triumph that arrives without the character having permanently lost anything she chose to risk. The comparison isn't about which character is more interesting. It's about which story shipped a complete protagonist arc. Force Unleashed did it in 8 hours. The sequel trilogy, across 8 years and 3 films, didn't. The last thing Galen Marek says before he walks into the Emperor's fire comes in the bay of the Rogue Shadow. Juno asks if she'll ever see him again. "If I can free the rebels, they're going to need extraction," he tells her. "Probably not, no." She says she'll never have to live it down. Goodbye, Juno. He falls backward into the Death Star's atmosphere. He doesn't come back. After it's over, Coda tells Juno he glimpsed Starkiller's mind when they first met. All the rage and the damage and the years under Vader's training. Among all of it, one bright spot. "What?" Juno asks. "You," Coda says. The Rebel Alliance adopts the Marek family crest as their symbol. A generation of Star Wars fans grew up knowing who put it there. Then, in 2014, it didn't happen. Galen Marek, 19 BBY to 2 BBY, founder of the Rebel Alliance. Erased in 2014. Subscribe for more stories like this.